Joe Scarborough hits the nail on the head today. He gave an excoriation of MAGA and the Republican Party like no other. And coming from a conservative, coming from somebody who lived his life as a Republican, it means a lot. It says a lot. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll go ahead and take it on the other side.
Press Secretary says the president's focus won't be on Trump directly, but on the candidates who are, quote, under the whim of the former president. And Joe, I still think this might be a step behind, because when you're looking at Trump's hold on people, it's cult-like. It literally matches the definition of a cult. And extreme, that still is in the category of normal, extreme versus not so extreme. I think we're talking about something completely different.
Yeah, well, we are, especially with the Washington.
And why not use the words?
Especially with the Washington politicians who are just acting like freaks. I mean, there have been, hundreds of thousands of words written about working class and middle class Americans and why they were attracted to Trump's populist message at the beginning, why they're still disaffected and still don't want to go back to mainline candidates. But we need to look at the type of candidates that Jen Psaki and the White House are talking about. We need to look at what's before us and how extreme these Washington politicians, these MAGA Washington freaks are. You know, the New York Post reported that an influential House Republican said that being in the military is, quote, like throwing your life away, and should never let her son go into the military. Is that middle America? Another high-profile Republican called freedom fighters like Zelensky a thug and called the Ukrainian government that's fighting Putin, quote, incredibly evil. There's also the guy that carries loaded guns to airports and films himself engaging in really disturbing acts. He needs help. Also, their fearless leader, Donald Trump himself, keeps calling Putin a genius, keeps calling the invasion of Ukraine brilliant, and keeps refusing to condemn a war criminal that is killing Ukrainians every single day. This is the party. The White House should explain, this is the party that brought you Jewish space lasers. This is the party that talked about that dude from Italy who they say stole the election with a satellite. Remember those bamboo particles that Republicans claimed were in Arizona ballots? And those ninja freaks or whatever they were called that went in and they were going to show that Biden stole the election, but except it ended up that they get even more votes for Joe Biden. They've called one lie after another lie from websites run by Chinese religious cults. You heard it right. From websites run by Chinese religious cults. This is what America wants. And of course, there's always been one phony controversy after another, churned up by Republicans so they can govern by gesture and proclaim their need to be radical so they get to own the libs. But lately, those politics of gesture have morphed into actual policies that are hurting you and your family, that are hurting Americans in Trump states. The Texas governor attacks truckers in his own state because he thinks that's how he owns the libs. But he ended up costing Texans $4 billion. And there, as Jen said, there's a Florida governor's crazed attack on Florida taxpayers, going to cost him about $1 billion, via his war on the Magic Kingdom. Again, to own the libs. But he's just ending up owning his own taxpayers in Central Florida. And yesterday, a harshly written Supreme Court draft that we talked about leaked on Monday that will end a 50-year constitutional right. Get this, that only 19% of Americans support being stripped away. Only 19% of Americans want to ban abortion. And what lies ahead if Trumpists keep winning? It's just getting worse. Candidates like J.D. Vance say they want the centralized state in Washington, D.C. to seize all the assets of the Ford Foundation because they are insufficiently loyal to Donald Trump, a man that he still claims had the 2020 election stolen from him. These people are, if I can quote Aristotle here, crazy.
These people are, if I can quote Aristotle, crazy. You know what Joe Scarborough did there is excellent. He aggregated the abject stupidity of the party and the MAGA crowd that's running the party. Now, look, we can really have some compassion for those who are seeing a plutocracy that has created inflation when there's no real shortages, that have made their health care horrendous, and no one out there explaining to them. Yesterday on the program, I started to point out what Democrats need to do. Democrats need to go out there and go into the rural areas, go everywhere that they think people won't listen to them, and explain to them, not in the form that we normally do things, but for their bread and butter, for their tractors, for their grocery stores, etc. All the things that really MAGA is screwing them over for. That's what we need to do. You're not going to win them all over, and some of them are going to look at you suspiciously. You're just coming in to talk to them for the first time over in the last 30, 40 years. But when Joe Scarborough aggregates things the way he did, it isn't something that is all that difficult for any Democrat, for any progressive, for any thinking Republican to go out there and do. And look, while most people would like to look at others and say, oh, those people are stupid, I think no one is stupid. I think a lot of folks are victims of their circumstances and their indoctrination. After all, many of us have been indoctrinated into thinking capitalism, the way it works in America, is somehow great for most Americans when it isn't. So we can be indoctrinated. Everybody can, the right, the left, and everywhere in between. So it is incumbent on us as human beings to be compassionate with each other, to be empathetic with each other, and work with each other to get something accomplished. And you know what? If we do that, we can not only beat MAGA, we can not only beat a fraudulent GOP, we can beat a fraudulent democratic neoliberal and start filling ourselves up with progressives of all plights who will go out there and do the work for the people of America.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.